Hello again. So, it's been a week, but I feel like I'm ready to talk about Mixtape Pluto. This is an album or mixtape that I've been kind of making heads or tails on, but let's just get into it. So, it has a critic score of a 76 and a user score of a 56. Future has had an incredible year in 2024 with We Don't Trust You, We Still Don't Trust You, like that type shit. He's had an incredible run, probably one of the best runs of his entire career. Now, when we talk about the albums themselves, I feel like with each subsequent album that's been dropping, the albums are seeming to get a little bit weaker. We definitely started off really high with We Don't Trust You. We Still Don't Trust You, while decent enough, it's really bloated. And with that more melodic sound, it can make a lot of the songs, especially with it being a long album, feel like background noise. I did a review on it, kind of fell in that 6.5 kind of range. That's kind of where it still lands for me. And with Mixtape Pluto, I do really like the moments where it does get very nocturnal, sometimes very hypnotic, and there's even a part of Lost My Dog that gets very emotional, honest, and contemplative. But there is some moments on the project as well that don't really justify their runtime. They don't justify their existence on being on this project. We'll kind of get into it as we talk about the entire project, but we'll start off Teflon Don, a really great intro to start off this project. Super nocturnal, super grimy. It does really remind me of kind of heroes and villains with the operatic singing. And when Future just comes in, just sounds absolutely fantastic, fits the beat incredibly well. And I like a certain part, I believe it's like through the first verse, kind of halfway through, where the vocal sample of the operatic singing keeps on getting chopped, and just Future is just gliding all over the instrumental, and he sounds absolutely fantastic. One of my favorites on here is Little Demon. Little Demon, I really like the most about it is that you do have kind of the chemistry with himself, having a line, having the ad lib of himself, just kind of playing off of each other. It just creates this really great sense of momentum, and Future again just sounds absolutely fantastic on it. And it's another great thing too that's just like Future just carries the song all by himself while the production is really nice. I think Future really stands out the most on Lil Demon. Ski is probably one of his best showcases when it comes to his rapping flow and just going just guns blazing into the song. It's probably one of his fastest flows, and it's just aggressive, it's in your face, and it just keeps on going and going and going. Another really good part of this song that I really enjoy is that it's kind of halfway through the song where the instrumental cuts out and it's just a simple snare hit. It sounds like an actual drum kit, and for some reason the way that it cuts out and then it just jumps right back into the beat once that kind of just really just authentic drum kick kicks in, and then it goes right back into the trap instrumental. I don't know why, but it's so satisfying to me. I really like Ski. Ready to Cook Up is where you get this trademark amazing kind of hypnotic Future, and with the kind of singing flow that he has. But what I really enjoy about it the most is that the beat is so just entrancing, especially with this chime or this kind of bell that goes throughout it. It's just super mesmerizing, and you just get lost in the song as it goes through. It's a really great moment too to kind of slow down the record after just the onslaught of the past three while still keeping up the intensity. Now, Plutoski. Now, I don't think the beat is all that much to write home about. I think it's rather kind of generic in the grand scheme of things, especially on this album. But I think it's another example where Future does really carry it, especially in his vocal performance. And the chorus, I will admit, I did not like at first at all. I think a lot of people were kind of along the same thing. But what's the buzz, made a very good point where Future has been this pioneer of bringing these really weird, abstract, and experimental kind of melodic flows into rap music for the past like decade or so. When you think of the whistling flow, when you think of La Di Da Di Da off of King's Dead, he's really kind of the pioneer of bringing these really abstract and weird flows and vocal inflections into rap. And the first time didn't like it, but the more that I listened to it, it gets stuck in your head. And it works even though it's like hieroglyphics. He's blowing raspberries in a certain part on the instrument on this song. It just works. It's Future. I don't know how to describe it. It's just Future. It works. Now, there is songs like Ocean and Surfing a Tsunami where they do carry this kind of more hypnotic and kind of the more just singing kind of future that does work rather well for this project. But there is a certain part of this album I find that does get a little bit spotty, especially starting off with Made My Hoe Faint, Oath, and Told My. Now, MJ sounds pretty nice. It kind of reminds me of One of My off of High Off Life. But I think Made My Hoe Faint is not really a good song, mostly because the snare on Made My Hoe Faint is so loud and it's so snappy that it really throws off kind of the momentum or kind of the speedy flow that really Future is going for on that song. He can't really find the beat because the snare is just so loud that it kind of just brings it into the forefront like a sore thumb, and you can't really get into the song, even though there's the Hill sample with the Weeknd in this song. You wouldn't really notice it because the snare drum is so loud, it's so crisp, and it's so snappy. It just sticks out really like a sore thumb, pretty much. And then there's Oath. So, Oath is probably the shortest song on this project. I think it's about like a minute 34 seconds. Very simplistic beat, and Future brings a performance that I feel like I've heard from him so many times before. And there's a few songs on this album that reach about a minute 40, minute 34, kind of around this range. And I do really like short songs, especially, but you have to make them really worth your while or kind of really justify why they're so short. And when that payoff works, it makes a song incredibly replayable. But songs like Oath are just kind of nothings of songs where they kind of just are there to exist to fill up the runtime. And once they go by, you completely forget what they sound like. That's just my thing, though. So, Made My Hoe Faint, Oath, and Told My is probably the weakest run of this project towards the end. Now, it does pick up significantly with Lost My Dog. Now, Lost My Dog is just a straight guitar instrumental. You do get a little bit of a vocal sample throughout, but it's just Future just being very honest, being very somber, and just kind of contemplating and just thinking about losing his dog, loved one, whoever it is, to fentanyl. And it's a very emotional and really gut-wrenching song, to be honest, and we don't really get this from Future all that often. What I really like about the lyrical content on this as well is that it really does touch on is like once he lost this said person to fentanyl, it almost made him think of relapsing, which is a very interesting and also very open look at like mental health and drug abuse, where someone can lose themselves or lose their life to drugs. And then with that, with your depression, with whatever you fall into, you may fall into your own vices with those said drugs. And it's a really interesting and very honest look into this certain thing. And I really appreciate Future really going into that on this album. And then we get to Ace Gang, which is bringing back that super nocturnal, super really like gritty trap banger towards the end of this project, especially with those kind of sampled strings that are going out through it, or whatever flutes or whatever it is. It just sounds super, super menacing to end off this project. And overall, I found that I've liked this project the more that I've listened to it, but there is some spots that I do find it is rather spotty. So with that, I originally had this at a 5, but the more that I listen to it, the more I'm gravitating towards the first half of this project, and it definitely towards the bottom half of, or the bottom section of the project. There is some moments that do feel a little bit spotty, a little bit filler, not really all that interesting to really write home about, but there is some songs on here that I do really think show that Future is still really good with the flows and really knows what production he's good on. So with that, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I did enjoy it, but I do think there could have been some changes made, or maybe make the tracks that don't really matter all that much to make them more substantive. Overall, that's my thoughts on the project. What are your thoughts on Mixtape Pluto? It's just my opinion. I'm going to have to preface that every time I make these videos now. But thank you very much for watching. What are your thoughts on the project? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Thank you for watching. I will talk to you again very soon.